Next, we have to study about the next chapter, Indian rivers and water resources. In this chapter, we have to study river system of India. River system of India can be divided into two broad groups on the basis of its origins: the Himalayan rivers and the Peninsular rivers. Himalayan rivers are mainly consist of Indus, Ganga, Brahmaputra rivers. They start from the Greater Himalaya and flow towards the Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. Indus River flow towards the India and enter the Arabian Sea. Ganga and Brahmaputra flow towards the North Indian side and enter the Bay of Bengal. At the same time, when we come to the Peninsular River, the Peninsular River consists of the west flowing rivers and east flowing rivers. The west flowing rivers are mainly Narmada and Tapti river. East flowing rivers are Mahanadi, Godavari, Kaveri and Krishna. These are the important east flowing rivers. These are the river system of the India, Himalayan river system and Peninsular river system. Within the Peninsular river system, we can see some rivers are started from the northern part of the peninsula and enter the Ganga river. That is very important. These rivers are Chamban, Sindh, Betwa, Ken, Sun. They start from the northern part of the peninsular plateau and enter the Ganga river in the north. This is something about the Indian river systems. It is very important. It plays important role for the India's development. Then Tungabhadra, next we have to study water usage in the Tungabhadra river basins. How the Tungabhadra river basin people use the water. The water usage in the Tungabhadra river basin is good manner or equitable manner or rational manner that we have to be studying here. Due to the water usage of the Tungabhadra river, number of problems Tungabhadra river basin faces. First important problem faced by the Tungabhadra river is encroachment in the forest land. Beside the Tungabhadra river basin, forest land is encroached by the people and cultivators, cutting the forest and cultivating. It becomes cause for the soil erosion and silt accumulation in the Tungabhadra river basins. Then other important problem is due to the factory production and industrial productions, huge amount of silt accumulated in the river water and the storage capacity, Tungabhadra dam storage capacity is day by day decreasing. Then other important problem is the Tungabhadra river basin is unsystematic cultivation in the areas. Even arid regions, the places suitable for the arid crop, they are cultivating irrigated crop like a paddy and irrigated crop like a paddy and bananas. So what happens when they cultivate every place is a particular crop, water usage will be very high. That is other important problems. Then recently the number of industries and factories are very highly increased in the Tungabhadra areas. It is increased 27 large in unit of industries and 2,543 small unit of industries developed in the Tungabhadra river basins. It creates a big problem for the river basins. Through these factories, huge amount of pollution entered the polluted water and poisonous water entered this river and poison in the river system. These are the important problems faced by the Tungabhadra river basins. Equitable water distribution is not there in the Tungabhadra river basin. It should be corrected. It should be corrected by the government. Then only the area will be developed. Other important topic we have to study in these areas: rational and equitable use of the water. How can we utilize water in a rational and a very thoughtful manner and equitable way in particular? Even though some area get very less amount of water, they are utilizing water very proper manner and they are avoiding the water problems. With one example, we can study this topic. Hiwara is a village in the Maharashtra. It is the rain shadow region of the Sahyadri. Getting only less amount of rainfall, 40 centimeter rainfall, 400 millimeter rainfall, they are receiving. Even though when they were selected as a Adarsh Gram Yojana, and then they followed number of patterns for number of rules and regulations for controlling the watershed program they introduced. Through the watershed program, they followed counter trench and check dams, loose bound structure, This all they followed water harvesting program. They started. In this way, water level very highly improved, and they followed number of rules and regulations given by the governments. They followed 3-4 bans: ban on cutting of trees, ban on open grazings, ban on liquor, family planning. This all they followed, and multi-cropping pattern they started. Their condition very highly improved. Annual amount of water they very meticulously they measured, and on the basis of availability of water they use the water. First priority they had given for the drinking water. So this model village we can follow. This model village program we can follow every part of the India, and we can solve the problem of the water. Day by day, year by year, our water level, groundwater level, very highly decreases. If it is continued in future, we will not get any water. Water is now a kind of water mining program is started in India. That should be stopped. Otherwise, in future we have to suffer very high ecological problem. That is the thing we have to study here. Then other important topic we have to study: water as a common pool of resources. Water is same like in the air in atmosphere, a common. Air can be utilized by everyone equally. Anybody can use. We cannot be make any boundary for the air. In the air above the land, we cannot be make any kinds of boundary. Same like water under our land cannot be bounded by us, because it is a flowing resources. It will flow one place to other place. When we dig one bore or a tube in our land, we can get water from there. But nearby place, anybody make a big tube, our water will be go to the other area. It is a flowing resources. We cannot be preventing the water. It is a flowing resources. But today existing rules and regulations is not suitable for us. According to present rules and regulation, owner of the land is also owner of the water under the land. So those who are making a bigger tube can extract a huge amount of water. Legal laws are supporting it. It should be changed. The present laws are outdated, but it should be updated and make us good for all peoples. So we can say water as a common pool of resources. We have to make it as a common resources for everyone. It should be measured and equally distributed for everyone. These are the important topic we have discussed in the Indian river system and water resources. Thank you. Next, we have to study about the populations. Population is very important element in the societies. So, societies deal with the society. Without population, there is no societies. So, first we have to study what is census. The systematically acquiring and recording the number of people in a population we can call the census. Census show number of things. Important things shown by the census is age structure, sex ratio, literacy ratio, working populations. These are the important things shown by the populations. What is age structure? Age structure we can divide into threes. The children age, 1 to 15 years we can call the children age. Then 15 to 59 we can call as a working age. Above the 60 years we can call as an old age individuals. In this age structure we can divide. It will be shown by the census. Census not only say about the number of people who live in the area, it will show number of detail about people working conditions, sex ratios, religion status. This all deal with the census. Here first we study I explained about the age structure. Most important thing shown by the census is sex ratios. What is sex ratios? Number of female per 1000 male is called as a sex ratios. Generally, sex ratio is decreasing in our Indians. When sex ratio is decreasing, it will show the female status decreases. Compared to other countries in the world, Indian sex ratio is very less. Number of female per 1000 is very less in the India's. It should be increased. When is the problem faced by the Indian people? When gender bias is very high, sex ratio also will be very less. In India, number of people per 1000 is very less. State by state, when we consider except one state, almost all the state sex ratio, except Kerala, almost all the state sex ratio is very less. In America, sex ratio is more than 1,000. That means female number is more than the male number. That shows the more preference we have given, the people have given to the women, and more status women are enjoying in America. But Indian women's status are very less from sex ratio we can understand. Then other important we can see literacy rate. Census show the literacy rate also. What is literacy rate? Number of people above the 7 years who know how to read and write in a particular language per 1,000 is called as a literacy rate. When literacy rate is increases, it shows the country's development. The person who know how to read and write, educated person, he can live anytime, anywhere. He is better than the uneducated people. He can find out job in his place or in other places. He can survive in the places anywhere. That is the importance of the literacy rate. Literacy rate is, in India, literacy rate is increasing, but compared to other countries, literacy is not increasing. When we come to the other countries, neighboring countries, India and neighboring countries almost all got same time independence. But neighboring countries like China, Sri Lanka, these all countries come to nearly 100% literacy rate. India even today not cross the 80% literacy rate. Even today more than 20% people of India is illiterate. Then working population. Other important thing shown by the census is working population. How many the people between the age of 15 to 59 is called working population. They play important role for the economic development. How many agricultural areas are there? How many urban area people working are this all shown by these working populations. Then other important things we can study in the population is population change. How populations are changing. The important fact is that it includes the change of population is birth, death and migrations. When migrations are increases to the one area in migration, then population will be changed. Death rate is increases, population may be decreases. Birth rate is increases, population may be increased. In this way, birth, death and migrations are three factors that influence the population change. Then how growth we can measure? Growth rate of the populations. Birth rate minus death rate is called growth rate. Then what is birth rate? Number of live birth per 1,000 when we can call as a birth rate. Same like number of death per 1,000 we can call the death rate. Birth rate minus death rate is equal to growth rate. This is the population. This is we have to study. These are the important things we have to study in the populations. Next important thing we can study here density of populations. What is density of population? Number of people living in a square kilometer area. Average number of people living in a square kilometer area is called density of population. In 2011, density of population of India is 382 per 1 square kilometer area. That means average number of people living in 1 square kilometer area in India is 382. High density of population we can see in the Bihar, that is 1102 people are living in 1 square kilometer area. Lowest density of population we can see the Arunachal Pradesh, 17 people are living in 1 square kilometer area. That means average number of people living in the 1 square kilometer area in the Arunachal Pradesh is only 17. These are the things we have to study. Then other important we have to understand in this chapter is what are the reasons for increase of the populations? What are the reasons for how can we decrease the population? It is very important for the examination. How can we control? What are the reasons? What are the causes of the population explosion or high improvement of the populations? Because of after the independence, the population very high increased, growth rate very high increased due to the medicine facilities, healthcare delivery center, and health system very high developed. Death rate very highly decreases. At the same time, birth rate no much decreases. When birth rate increases, death rate decreases, population very highly increases, and cleanness very highly increased. All type of clean activities continued all over the cities and town, thereby disease affecting or disease very highly decrease. This is the reason for increase of populations. How can we control? Through the family planning, we can control the population growth. Government has taken a strict control for birth rate. Thereby we can control the population growth. And also the birth of the child between the two children, we have taken more gap. And family planning education should be implemented all over the area, including the illiterate area also. Thereby we can control the population growth. These are the important things we have to study in this chapter. Next, we have to study settlement and migrations. First, we have to study what is settlement. The way we organize ourselves and living place in a place is called settlement. Or we can say a geographical area where we work and live. In settlement, we can see number of different types of economic activities, education activities, religious activities, commercial activities, number of different types of activities we can see the settlement. Then other important thing we can see here, how a settlement begins. At first, the people live in a nomadic manner. Early man live in a forest area, nomadic. They do not have any kinds of settlements. They wander from one place to another place. Where they reach the place they live, they do not have any kinds of settlements. They are the food gatherers and hunters. But gradually they started to live in one place. They began to cultivate. In this way, settlement began. That is the beginning of the settlement. But when settlement changed, when facilities increased, settlement changed. The primitive village changed as some better village, later it becomes a revenue village, hamlet, from hamlet to revenue village, then town, cities, and big cities and mega cities. In this way, settlement changed. Then when we come to the one example, Delhi. Delhi developed as a small cities, but later it became a big, now mega cities. One of the mega cities, Delhi. Surrounding village are now under the part of the cities. This village also merged with the cities. Village settlement now changes a city part. This way settlement changed here. Then other important topic we can study in this area is what type of place is attracted towards the settlements. Every place is not attracted towards the settlements. In the desert area, no attraction for the settlement. Nobody goes there and live in the desert area. Then what are the features that it was the settlement, attraction to settlement? First important features are site features, situation features, and historical background. These are the three important features that attract the settlement. Site features are the land features, water availabilities, and level of the land, topography of the land. Then what is the condition of rainfall? This all we can call as a site features. The site features are good for the settlement. Surely people wanted to go there and settle there. Situation features are connectivity of the place. The place is connected with the other area well manner. It will be good for the settlement. Suppose Vishakhapatnam connected area with all over the world, all over the India and all over the world. So Vishakhapatnam attacked by the number of people. Which are the area connected or connectivity is more or situation is better, the area attacked for the settlement. Historical background also other important factor that improves the settlements, attraction of settlements. The place is historically very famous area and very developed area. Surely people wanted to go there and live there. These are the three important factors that improves the attraction of the settlement. Indian settlement is in hierarchy. It starts from the small hamlet. Hamlet is the group of people living in a village. A particular place of village, there a group of houses we can see. That is called hamlet. A revenue village we can call the village areas. Then again other important settlement we can see town. The people, a urban area with 5,000 to 1 lakh people living is called the town areas. Then city, small city we can see 1 lakh to 1 million people. living place is called urban area with 1 lakh to 1 million people is called cities, class cities, first class cities. Then metropolitan cities, 1 million people to 10 million people living place is called metropolitan cities. Hyderabad, Chennai, example of the metropolitan cities. More than 10 million people or 1 crore people living cities we can call as mega cities. In this way, there is a hierarchy of the settlement we can in India. There is Indian settlement is in hierarchy now. That means down to top in a ladder wise, very bottom to top. The settlement change along with the increase in facilities. When facilities increase, village may be changes a big village may be changed as a town area, town will be changed as city, city will be changed as a mega cities. In this way, settlement changes. Then we have to study here urbanizations. Now, increased number of people in urban area, increased number of cities and towns we can call the urbanizations. Now, urbanization increasing. The beginning very less number of towns and cities we can, only 5 cities we can see the India the time of 1950s. Now we have more than 40 cities with 5 mega cities. Nearly 350 million people are living in the city area, whereas 50 million people living in the village areas. Settlement number of population increased, settlement also increased, city number also very heavy increased, urban population increased. When urbanization increased, then that means 1/3 population of India now living in the urban area. Urbanization increased. When urbanization increased, number of problems also increased. Byproduct of the urbanization, pollution increased. People are living together. And removal of the savage water is one of the important problem of the urbanization. Water problem is severe in the almost all urban area. These are the important problem of the urbanizations. Other important topic in this chapter is aerotropolis. Surrounding the airport, a city may be developed. In airport established first in a place, along with the airport, a city will be developed. The city we can call as aerotropolises. Important example of the aerotropolis, Hyderabad, Rajiv Gandhi Airport, International Airport, and likewise Indira Gandhi International Airport in the Delhi, Suvarnabhumi Airport in the Bangkok in Thailand, etc. are the important example of the aerotropolises. All the facilities will be developed surrounding the airport and gradually to become a big city. It is called as a aerotropolis. Other important topics we have to study in this chapter, migrations. Moving from one place to other place for searching job and settling the places, we can go on the migrations. Migrations are generally we can see, one day one ways migrations we can see. Now migrations are more internal and international migrations. City to city, town to town, village to village, village to city, village to town. In this migrations are going on. Then state to state, interstate migrations, and country to country, different migrations are going on. There are 2 types of migration, international migration and internal migrations. Within the country, people are moving one place to other place. Village to village, district to district, or state to state, it is called internal migration within the country. Within the country, migration will be easy, will not to suffer much problem in the country. But at the same time, international migration, the migrant may suffer a lot of problems. When they reach the other country, they have to suffer sometimes number of problems. The new climate, new language, new people, they have to adjust. That is the problem they have to suffer. Sometimes the employee or owner may be not much cooperative with the employer. The employees, that is a problem we have to face. So when migration increases, the village condition may be improved. The migrant people send more money to the village areas. That will increase the purchasing power of the village people. There is more migrant in the village area, surely the village will be developed. Because the migrant people send more money, it is called remittance. Remittance will be increased in the village area, so purchasing power of the villages will be increases. So there is a more development we get in the village area, those who have more migrations. Okay, this is most important thing we have to study about the migrations. Then to control the migration in the abroad, Indian government established passed a law that is called Immigration Act in 1983 in India, governing the migration and employment approach. Immigration Act in 1983 is Indian Act governing the migration and employment in the abroad. It is important. This importance we have to be things. The account of this Immigration Act, embassy set up in the abroad. This main duty of the officers who work in the embassies to protect the welfare of the immigrants who work in the abroad. They have to think about the job security of the people and what are the problems they suffered, the people who work in the other country, solved by the embassies. So in this way, Indian government now encourages the migration. Through the migration, foreign income, foreign currency will be increased in India. India will be developed more. Which are the state that has more migration to the abroad, the state is more developing. Because these migrant people are sending huge amount of remittance to their local area. Thereby more development activity will be happening in the local places. So migration encouraged by the Indian government. These are the things we have to study mostly in this chapter, second with that migration. Thank you. Next we have to study Rampur village economies. When we study about the village economy of Rampur, we are not only checking the Rampur village, we are studying all over the Indian village systems. Where is Rampur located? Rampur village is located in the western part of Uttar Pradesh in the Indo-Gangetic plain. It's a very fertile valley of the Indians. Then here, most important thing we have to study from this topic is land and other resources of the Rampur village, land distributions and organization of production, farm labors, non-farm activities in the Rampur village. This thing we have to study in this chapter. Rampur is well connected with other areas. Nearby the Rampur there is a big village that is called Raikaj from 3 kilometer difference. From Rampur village to 12 kilometer difference there is a big town where we can see Jahangir Bad. It is well connected. Number of vehicles we can see bullock cart, dongas, bogies, all we can see these areas. The most of the people working in the agricultural lands. There are the kharif season they are cultivating rabi, bajra and jowar. At the same time, rabi season they are mainly cultivating wheat. These are the important cultivation of the Rampur village peoples. When we come to the land distribution of the Rampur village, out of the 450 families, 60 peoples, 60 families are large scale farmers and medium scale farmers. They are occupied most of the land in Rampur village. 1/3, that means 150 families landless peoples. They are mostly belong to the Dalit community or SC/ST communities. 240 families land is below 2 hectares. They are belong to the small farmers. This is the land distribution. When we study about Rampur village land distribution, this land distribution we can compare with your land, your village. More or less, this land distribution of the Rampur village equal to your area also. That is why when we study about Rampur village conditions, land distributions and agriculture pattern, this is all an example, a model for the Indian village systems that we have to be understands. Then other topic we have to study here, organization of productions. How we are organizing production in the particular village areas. Here Rampur village production arrangement. Most important factors of production is land, labor and capital and organization, technologies. Lands, about the lands we already have studied. Then workers also we can study. First, workers, without workers production no possible. Workers also we have studied. Without labor it is not possible for production. Farmers are appointed laborers and cultivating the land. What is the labor condition we can discuss. Here we have to discuss mostly more about the capitals. How capital arrangement is possible. What is capital? The capital we can divide to the two. That is working capital and fixed capitals. Capital is the money needed for purchasing the raw materials and machinery we can call the capitals. The money required for raw materials is mostly working capital because raw material will be changed as a production and return the pocket money. At the same time, fixed capital like a building machinery, once we established or installed, again only to purchase number of years. That is called a fixed capital. So capital need for the production process. First important thing, land. Without land we cannot construct anything. First production, without land there is no production process. Then labor, without labor production not possible. The next one is capital. Other important factors of production is technology. How to produce product. The knowledge of process of production is called technology. These are the organization of the production. This is all organized by one manager or organizer. Then on the condition of the family life is the Rambur village. When we think about the condition of the family lives are very poor condition in the Rambur village. They are getting, most of the people getting minimum wage fixed by the, less than minimum wage fixed by the government. Reason is that the workers are more in the Rambur village. They are ready to work anytime. Shivaya like a farmer is getting 5 months work in a year. Balistan, they are wandering for getting work. They are searching for the work. They are ready to work below the minimum wage fixed by the government. When the machinery is very highly improved, tractor and harvester is all very highly improved, the work also will be decreased. The workers are not demanded. Then wage level very highly decreased. Those who are ready to work, very less wage will be upward in the farmland. That is why they are getting very less wage in a day. They are getting very less work also. Yearly 5 month work they are getting. Land distribution already we have studied. Other important things we can study in this topic is about the non-farm activities. What are the non-farm activities of the Rambur village? Non-farm activities include non-agricultural activities. Mainly non-agricultural activities is dairy, cattle rearings. Dairy is generally reared, most of the family there is a cow or buffalo will be there. In the buffalo managed by their own, reared by their own family members. That means land, their own land, cattle shed fixed capital and cow is fixed capital and feeding is working capital. This is all they are only managed. So most of the family there is one cow or buffalo. That is one of the important non-farm activities. Apart from that, shop, number of different type of shops are we can see the village, but the number of shops is less compared to big village and the town areas. There within the shop all facility, all type of things are available. Even the cloth also available in the one shop itself. Some shops are open. The front portion of the house is open for the shop. This is like the shop we can see here. Then transport facilities we can see here. Bullock cart like truck, like transport facilities also we can see here. Then carpenter work, blacksmith work. This is all we can see these village areas. Non-farm activities. These are the important non-farm activities we can see the Rambur village. These non-farm activities it may be asked in the examination. What are the non-farm activities in your village? Then we can write. You can write your own sentence. You can think about your village. What are the non-agricultural activities? How many shops? What type of shops? What type of small industries? What type of transport system? This all we have to explain. These are the things we can study in this topic. Why did workers are working in the Rambur village very less wage? One of the important question. The reason is that workers are more in the Rambur village. That is why they are ready to work in a less wage. In the case the workers are less, what will happen? The workers are less, surely wage will be increased. So these are the things we have to study. These are the important facts we have to study in the Rambur village. Thank you.